Alrighty then. Yes. We are live again. We are Aquarius. I don't know whether to look at the mic or the camera, but how you doing? Welcome back. We are Aquarius. I am Frank, and this is Brent.
Oh, let me switch my side. Yeah, Brent. You know, growing up, that's what I was like. They're like, "What's your name?" Brad. Chad?
Chad.
No, I definitely said with a B. Like there was no enunciation. You didn't hear me. Brett? Like, come on.
Brent.
I said Brad. Like
Sure, just call
I
me
didn't.
Ben. Ben is
Well,
fine.
it's like people make me feel like I was stuttering or something. Like I'm improperly saying the word of my own name. I don't know. That's like my daughter. She's.
Yeah.
It's not Anna. It's like Anna. It's Anna.
Hmm.
It's not Anna. It's not Anna. It's Anna.
Yeah.
I didn't decide that. I like left it open. I was like, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call yourself, out of it, whatever
Hmm.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, I hear you.
yeah.
But
I'm back at it. I'm back at it again, thinking about how massive space is.
mhm.
Just, I can't. I don't know. The James Webb Telescope and now the Euclid just keep putting out these pictures that show more and more galaxies. Like, it is so hard to fathom
I guess that's why
how
when I
big,
say
how big. I don't even want to say our universe. I don't know what our universe means anymore. How big the amount of space is. It like there is. I mean, I don't know what's the difference between a universe and the next universe, or if it just keeps going. I mean, you were saying you came up on your own with the cylinder idea, and apparently other people have done that too. They've come up with a cylinder idea where everything's just rotating around something else.
it feels
The
weird.
big
It almost feels like I think of something, and then everybody else is like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Like they're coming to the same conclusion that I have already come to. It's like, are you guys probing my mind to get the ideas out of
well,
me
have
so
you
you can
seen and heard the
prove it
latest of
to?
it?
I know that sounds narcissistic, but it just feels like I just thought of this thing, and I didn't look it up. I don't like. I read popular mechanics a lot growing up. I read a little popular science, but not very much.
Okay,
I don't
have you
mind
heard the
science, but
latest?
I'm not a huge science nerd. I'm more of a mechanical nerd or a gaming nerd, if anything. But science is just not my. I don't know. It's just never been my
This
thing. But
this is the whole issue going on with the James Webb right now that they're at least trying
okay,
to figure out. So, they measure based on I'm not going to get everything right with the sciencey terms, but they measure like the redshift and they figure out how far away these other galaxies are. And we know that,
mm-hmm.
well, at least we think that the universe is 13.8 billion years old. And when you get back right to that point and they're still finding these galaxies, they thought they would be like these really, really small new galaxies that are just getting like created right away. They're 200. Because remember, you're seeing the light
Mm-hmm.
from that time. So it's not like it's what's happening right now. It's what you're seeing that happened at the beginning of this, what they said was the Big Bang, at this moment where they see this light and they see stuff coming from it. But what's happening is when you get into this, like only 200 million years from when this event happened, they're finding galaxies that would take billions of years to create.
But
So
I
it's like
have
how
I
can
have
you
a
have these
I
old
have a problem
galaxies
with that
in
though, because from a certain distance you flash light and it doesn't shine. It's not bright anymore. Light only reaches so far. It's like a finger that goes to a certain distance and then stops. How are you seeing this from this far away if after a certain time, depending upon the strength of the sun, the light stops?
well,
Yeah.
certain light stops.
So you're saying the
The
vastness of
the
darkness will just
ultraviolet. That's why they're measuring it in the redshift because the red light still. That's why the really far away ones are always red because that's the only light that's still coming to you. And I agree with you. I think what's happening is that the universe is much older, but we can't detect it any further than that. We
Hmm.
just now the Euclid's supposed to be able to detect further, and we'll see if this determines something else. But the bottom line is, we're at this point now where we don't know if the Big Bang's true. We don't know how old our universe really is. We don't know if there's an end to it. We don't even know if there's a beginning to it.
Honestly,
You know,
I don't think I I think the Big Bang is true. Uh,
I do too.
to a degree, but I
I think
honestly
that's
think, like what we stated before, I think how it all started was kind of like grid lines, like light grid lines, and it started to just go out and then and it just make this tonal sound to the point that it just went out, and it might have touched itself on the other end going away from itself, or like we were saying, it might have just curved out and then come back to
well,
itself somehow in a weird way, and then
I've seen
somehow that ended up creating the graph or the 3D picture or 4D, whatever D it is,
so a lot
to
of
the
these
point that
pictures
it
of
could start to create some kind of energy field that it just pulsed on itself, and then eventually there was an explosion. But I think honestly, what they say with sound and light, I think that's what it was at the start. It just, it was like a
I think
crack.
it was hot and cold. I think
It,
it was
it
all hot
was
and cold.
it was a crack in space and time, or something other than space and time, because it was all blackness, and the blackness was probably too heavy, and it split and changed into something totally different, which was light. And then it started to create more of that by itself.
Truth be told, I think. All right, this is my opinion.
I think I'm just saying what I'm thinking, and I wonder, maybe I'm right, because I
I
thought
don't.
about that
I
whole
don't think it
cylinder
was
thing
some small. I don't think it was some small
before
crack.
I
I
heard of
think
any of
that
that.
I think that elements naturally floated around, and like I said, they give off certain heats, and that itself is its own mini gravity. Heat and cold repels and pushes, and as things that can combine hit each other, they do combine. And I think that, who knows if that was trillions of years long before eventually the Big Bang was just probably a big water, a big ball of water and a big ball of cesium or something, and they just hit, and it just happened to be massive enough. I mean, I don't know what the chemical would be, but it just was massive enough to push everything in its way forward. And that's what I mean. As it's
Mm-hmm.
like I said, the Big Bang created stability. It created all this stability. Everything's all now moving in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
And because everything's moving in that same direction, instead of back and forth and up and down, things can start to kind of hit each other and start rotating around each other in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what creates these galaxies, these stars. I mean, why do we think that the Big Bang was the beginning when everything is always rotating around everything? Why is the Big Bang suddenly the one thing that stops the rotation? I mean, I agree with you. I think that
Mm-hmm.
the whole universe is just spinning around another giant black hole or something like that. And who knows, if you just zoom out from that there's not multiple other universes all spinning around another even more gigantic black hole, or something that just keeps that's dense, that keeps. But that's what we were talking about, to keep it somewhat religious here.
Yeah,
There's
I think
there's got to be a reason why God has made such a vast, infinitely
well,
vast
the thing
universe.
is, if God came from, was always there, then the nothingness that was always there is a part of who he is. And then because of that, he ended up becoming something. I think that nothingness ended up becoming so much of it that it turned into light. It completely changed into the complete opposite.
Well, light to me is heat.
Yeah, because all that
That's what I'm
nothingness
saying.
just was moving against itself too much, and it turned itself into heat, which is light, and it might be something more than we're thinking of, because we keep thinking of just the physical aspect of things. Oh, hey, Jack, and everybody that's coming by to check out this hour later. How you doing? Welcome to our channel here. But we're talking about space, time, everything. We're just kind of looking at what scientists have said, what we've gone over, and what we talked about before. We talk about this stuff all the time anyway. But yeah, it's a hard concept because everybody wants to prove it, because here's the thing, what I honestly think, and I think we can improve so much, but only so much. But here's how I see it. You know, snow globe, right, Brad?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or Ben, or whatever your name is. You know,
Jake.
Jake from Allstate. Okay. 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 A snow globe. We are in the snow globe. The universe, not just the planet, but the universe is in one giant snow globe, and God's going like this sometimes. He's like, ooh, look at all the little stuff. We can see the reflection sometimes outside of the snow globe, but most of the time we're just going to see the reflection of back towards us of what's in the snow globe. For us to understand and conceptualize how the reality is, we can only understand what's in the snow globe. Understanding what's outside of the snow globe is going to have a different refracting light to it, so that we'll come up with an idea as to what it would be, but it could be completely opposite because of how it looks. So like the other D, the 4D, the 5D, whatever they want to call it, whatever that could be, you know, I don't know if it's that, but I could say that it's definitely a different understanding of a perspective or a way of existing, to the point that, you know, Jesus talks about being outside of the body. I guess it is being outside of the body. It's a whole different reality. So when we're in here, we have to be a hardened structure to exist within this reality, but outside we don't have to be a hardened structure. But then it's a different kind of light or water. Maybe it's a water with other types of things, but it's not like our water here. It's a different reality of water outside. And then all we can really conceptualize for ourselves is how this reality is within the snow globe that we exist in. No, that's what I think, man. And
I think it's so cool how we look up at night, and I mean, if you're in a good spot without all the city lights and all that, you really can see all the stars, you know, and yet we have telescopes that zoom out past those stars, and you just see tons of other galaxies. Like
mm-hmm.
It's just mind-boggling to think, like, the stars are so far away from us, and each one of those stars, and there's an estimated like 2 trillion in our own Milky Way galaxy.
And you know why? You know why I think that we are not meant to be the center of the universe? Why are those stars so far away and we can't get to them? Shouldn't everything be within our reach to get to it?
That's what I'm saying.
If it's so far away and we can't get to it, why would the Creator make it for us to even see it without us being able to go?
If we get intelligent enough, we can really get out there. It's I think the whole point is that it's supposed to be magical in a sense. You're supposed to really, I mean, what did all the ancients do? They always mapped on those stars. That was all they really thought about, cared about. The stories came from people of different planets, of other stars that they watched that were bright, mm-hmm. and you know, I mean, that's what everything was based around of in their past. The stars, and where they were in the universe, and you know what was around them. I mean, you know, clearly there's old pictures that show that they knew which ones were planets and which one, you know.
And I find it interesting, like, sorry to cut you off, but with the pyramids, they had the pyramids shaped so that because they never buried anybody there, but they put them into tombs. They put them into tombs so they could face the way towards certain star systems like Sirius and Orion and other stuff like that. So they put them in there so the souls would travel to that star system. Is it possible that some of us came from another star system at some point? I'm not saying all of us, but maybe some of us. And now
I got to tell you something. I thought
living out
this
a
was
life.
really
What do you
funny.
think
I
about
thought this,
that? What do you think? Do you think we like rotate? What do you think we rotate between star systems every 12,000 years, and then we, you know, go around the whole
well,
star
but
system
you know, but
in a
here's the thing
different
though.
life?
Based on how our Milky Way galaxy supposedly looks, we're not going around in a circle over and over again. We're slowly going towards the center of that, you know, ending. I think it's a black hole. I assume the center of the galaxies are black holes. I don't know if they've ever determined that or not, but I assume that's what we have now. I don't know why it's so bright, but I guess that's. But whatever. Listen, I watched this short today
Are you
about
saying that
Neil.
that center source is God? Do you think that the planet is moving towards
No, I
God
think
physically, or
no.
what do you?
That's just our galaxy.
Oh,
God,
I was just
God
kind
up above all galaxies.
of, just
I'm
kind of.
saying I watched this video with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Is that his name?
I thought you were gonna say Neil
And
Diamond.
and he says, I mean, like, dude, sometimes I don't mind him. I don't hate him. Sometimes some of the stuff this guy says, it's like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, did someone pay you to say something stupid? But
Does
anyway, he
oh,
says all all around, the planet, there's these pyramids, and do I think that that means that people communicated with each other? He goes, no, the pyramid is the most basic and like the best structured design. That even if it like falls, like it'll stay shaped like a pyramid a little bit. Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
why
That
would
it's
you
just a
make
very, very
something
simple.
to
But
be
look, it's a very, very
indestructible?
simple design, right? He's saying, that's what he's saying. He said he goes, perhaps they built tons of other shaped structures, but they all crumbled because they're not as well designed as the pyramids. And I thought to myself, are you retarded? Like the
Just
pyramids, no. First off,
well,
the
my block
Egyptian
structure didn't
pyramids.
stand, so I'm gonna make a pyramid structure. But maybe we make a circle structure, and that would be
Yeah,
better. I mean,
I'm
come on, like
I
you
mean,
can't
I
be.
clearly remember on that vase that showed three different pyramids from Egypt.
Did
There
he
was
get
also a
scripted to say
circle
this?
structure,
To
a circle structure, and like a cylinder shaped structure. They
oh my
made all that,
gosh.
but they all crumbled by now. None of
This
those.
is this
And
is
we
the three little pigs story that he's reciting right now.
no, no. I mean, like
He built his house out of straw and it got blown over.
the pyramids are clearly a
How big of a
questionable
wolf
thing
was
in our
this thing that
universe,
had to
and
take over a house?
he's acting like the pyramids were literally nothing special. That they built tons of other structures and they all crumbled. They just weren't quite as good as the pyramids because that structure would not fail. Obviously, it's the perfect shape to not crumble. The perfect shape to not crumble. I mean, like,
We should call him Neil deGrasse Blockhead because he's obsessed with shapes and that's all he can think about when it comes to that.
I think
It
I
makes no
think that the
sense.
reason that they chose the pyramid in the first place was because it was the perfect shape to not crumble. They already knew that. That's why they did the pyramid. That, like, I mean, they didn't build every other shape and been like, oh, like Egyptian people had made those slaves make the circle, but then it fell, and then they made them make the square, but the square's chipped in the corners, and then finally they came up with the pyramid shape, and it was perfect.
The first two castles fell over and sank into the swamp, but the third one stood up, and that's what you'll get. The strongest pyramid in all the swamp.
No, clearly, I understand his sentiment that maybe other cultures also picked the pyramid shaped design because it is a strong design, and maybe multiple cultures came up with the same idea to build giant pyramids. I understand the concept,
But the thing
but
about
it's
it is that
more likely that there was something else involved.
But the thing about it is you can't defend yourself in that structure. And you can't have a full forced attack in that structure. Sure, everybody's going uphill, but the more you go uphill, the less defenders you have on each area because it's getting thinner going towards the top. So there's no
But
point.
listen,
There's no point in using it for offense or defense, and there's no point in trying to just say, "Well, I'm going to stay in my pyramid. I can't get out," because now you're just walled in, and everybody can go. The pyramid has no military purpose, which for the most part, every society builds something for some kind of monetary, religious, or military purpose. It has no military purpose at all.
you cut the heads off at the top and then you throw them down all the stairs. That's the military purpose.
That's sacrifice. That's ritualistic and religious. But
I think it's setting an example.
well, that would be just religious. But it's not military. But the thing is, like
No, but I know what you
okay.
mean.
What
not a
I'm
castle.
trying to say is, it's not for military. It's not for government. It would have to be for religious purposes, and the fact that it does face certain star systems. Some of them face certain star systems with a portal from the King's Chamber looking out, and for it to be built that with that much vigor and effort means it is a religious standing. Because what do we have with our religious churches? Look at our religious churches now, and look at how expensive we build these things, and everybody donates and pitches in. From the dawn of time, everything that's ever been religious has had so much money piled into it for a giant obelisk to be looked upon. From the dawn of time, every single one of these
Giza
things
has like
unless
earthquake
it's been
stabilizers underneath it. It's
yeah,
like that will shift if an earthquake happened, that there's like a part underneath the pyramid that'll shift, so the pyramid won't like just crumble on its own. Like the whole thing will shift together. Like it's crazy. Like there's no way that somebody who
move.
I mean,
But what I'm trying to say is it's made
Giza's
for
the old.
a religious
You understand
purpose.
the Giza's the older one. So I'm saying, like, if you were just starting out making pyramids, you wouldn't have perfected on the first one, and then gotten crappier after that. You would have gotten better.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, that pyramid, the good one, was built at an older time. The ones that tried to replicate it were built by people that just saw it and were like, "Hey, let's build a pyramid too," and I had no
definitely
idea.
the first original three that line up with Orion's belt, and then the Giza pyramid that shoots towards Orion. There's definitely more to all that than. I mean, but the ancient folklore was that some of those gods came from Orion.
Yeah.
It genuinely makes you think that maybe there was a planet on Orion.
Makes
and they
me
somehow
wonder if some of them
were
just
somehow able to get
literally
here.
came over here. They were space cowboys. They came over here. They had the technology to build it. They had giant casts to get lava from or heat up rock enough to make a giant rock cast, fitted in place with machinery, and that's how they did it. It was all done with machinery, because they even said the Atlantean times had robots, the autonomous machines. Atlantean times does talk about that. So I'm thinking in Atlantean times, some of those people might have been from not here. They built it, and then once we had, and I think after that time happened, there was the deluge. Most of the people got washed away. The earth changed over. We go back to the Stone Age. So there was probably some collapse of a civilization in the Atlantean times, that they did have high tech. Some of them might have come from a different area. I'm not saying everybody did, but maybe some did. And they brought their tech. They built these giant things. And then once we had a catastrophe, we don't have the machinery anymore. Something happened. It mostly got destroyed. And that stuff. And then we go back to the Bronze Age. I mean, if we think about it, if we had a massive catastrophe, an earth shattering catastrophe right now, and we lost the internet, and we lost all of our communications, and we lost the satellites, they're all thrown in outer space, like we have some massive planetary thing, the satellites are thrown away, electricity gets knocked out.
We wouldn't know what to do. The average person relies on all of it now too.
We're going to go back to the Stone Age. We're going to go, well, maybe not the Stone Age, but we're going to go back to the Bronze Age. And then we're going to go, maybe not specifically, but since we do have some tools, but if everything got melted, let's say there was a giant heat wave or plasma or something like that, and melted all the metals, and the metals literally melted into the ground, we'd have to go and dig all that shit up and then re-smelt it again if we can find it. But if if there was a massive heat wave that came and there was a bunch of water and everything that was metal melted, there was no way for us to find out if those people of the past had all that stuff unless it was carved in stone. Maybe they knew that, so they carved a bunch of stuff in stone so that when the metal did melt, they would have an epitaph of their previous time. Because if you have something so hot that just melts away the metal like liquid, what are you gonna do? What do you do? You maybe that's why they carved into stone tablets and stuff, because they knew, maybe they knew that's a possibility. I'm just trying to put two and two together here just to see, like, what would I do.
Yeah, you don't think that people starved
was in a situation
carved into stone tablets because they didn't have paper?
Yeah, they had papyrus. They had trees. They could. I mean, we carve. We make all kinds of wooden things all the time. Yeah, you go ahead. I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, it is funny though how like our universe works like that. The main things, like we create paper, we create bread. We create beer.
I'm thinking, like, if we had a high-tech civilization before this, we already had most of this. Maybe more. Or maybe something different. Maybe more steam-powered or something like that.
I think heating almost anything is like what kills it. I'm not saying you should eat raw meat, because it even says that you shouldn't eat a live animal. But I just think that, like, we need... I want to go back to like eating more raw, like eating cooked everything, cooking your spinach and cooking your peppers and cooking your onions and all that. Like, you're not getting any real nutrients out of it. You want to think you are. You're getting a little bit. I'm not saying you're not getting nothing, but just saying, like, I think we just need to go back to like eating raw foods, being a little bit more simple.
Yeah.
That's how I want to be anyway. That's how I want to be anyway. That's what I'm working towards. Trying to be more simple. And
I've noticed that too with certain things like sugars, with sodas and certain breads. I just haven't been feeling as well. Like, I feel like it's caught in my throat.
Yeah.
Like,
nobody
if I
just
have
buys like a green pepper just to like eat a green pepper for lunch.
And
you
like,
just like an apple.
I know.
Nobody does that.
I bought a red cabbage a few weeks ago, and there was times that I was just hungry, so I just took off leaves of it and I was just eating it, and I was thinking, well, this is weird, but well, I guess it satisfies me.
Like you're a rabbit.
Yeah.
You should eat it.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if in a higher tech society, we live more naturally too. Not just like, we have more tech, but it's like we've come to the point that we know enough to say, well, tech is great for outside the body, but for inside the body wants the natural thing. So we want to go back.
You already see an uprising in people wanting to go to the gym more and getting themselves in shape. The obesity of America is probably going down, I think. I mean, maybe the numbers don't show it because older people, but I don't know. But I think genuinely more and more people want to go to the gym. More and more people want to get in shape. I still think down the middle, there's this split conservative ideology of tradition, and there's this other split of like acceptance to anyone and anything. I think there's room for both of it. I do.
I think that when we were younger, we lived in a time of excess everything. So you just always wanted to have more and more of everything. It didn't matter. And we kind of went to this within the past 10 years. I feel like it's been more of a minimalist
Well,
lifestyle. And even myself, like I started to get rid of the clutter and all this extra stuff that I just don't need. And it's like I'm just storing all these extra
well,
things. I can't do anything
but
with it, so I
but
might as
that's
well just.
also part of inflation. You start cutting the fats. Inflation creates when you start getting less money due to inflation, you start to say like, "Oh, I don't need this and I don't need that." I mean, everybody starts to look at what do I really. Some people, I love a specialty beer. I'm not going to cut that out. But you know what?
Mhm.
I don't really care about my clothes. I'll wear the same fucking clothes every damn day, and I don't care about how good my laundry detergent is to clean it, and I don't care about, you know, I just all I want to do is get my specialty, and I'm happy. If I can get my specialty beers, I'm happy. And it's like,
Mhm.
other people go different. I want to get my certain crafts, or I put a little bit of money aside to go gambling, or pack of cigs.
Yeah.
Everybody has these like poisons
Maybe maybe it was
that
the
they
ex
pick.
maybe it was the time of excess that we had that led everybody to understand that you're going to like a certain thing, but you're not going to like everything that you've got. So you could get extra things like even I've got extra, mechanical things, just in case. But then there were times where I just had some extra stuff. I'm like, I really don't need all these extra wrenches and all these extra screwdrivers and different things to fix a vehicle or anything. And so I just got rid of some of it, and I really don't need it. Like even if I thought I needed it, I really don't need it. There's another tool I could use that would work just the same. And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't really need. Yeah, I don't know, but
Yeah, the world wants to sell. I mean, that's what I told you before. It's nothing wrong with it, but everybody wants to sell you something.
mhm.
And yeah. There's obviously good people out there that are just trying to make a good product, and they obviously, they honestly want you to have a good product. They don't, they'll even go as far as like refunding and stuff like that. But it's like they're doing it so they can survive. You might say like, oh, I really love making marshmallows for people. It's so much fun to make all these different flavored but it's like you also know that if you stop, well, you'll have to do something else. So you weigh your options and you say, well, I really like making marshmallows more than I like making other things.
Mhm.
I really don't mind cleaning people's shoes. They send them in, I professionally clean them. They're Jordans and stuff for
Mhm.
20, 30 bucks or whatever. But it makes me, it only takes me like 10, 15 minutes. And
Mhm.
you know, I don't mind doing. You don't love it. I mean, I could argue that maybe some professional athletes love playing the game,
Mhm.
but it's like we were saying about Tim Pool the other day. You think he really loves reporting the news as much as he ever used to, being in the field now that he's got a whole team
Mhm.
of telling him stuff, and he's always got to be like from the Daily Wire,
Yeah, he's
or
just gonna move. He's gonna move up into like the god mode of not having to do anything, and then he's got everybody doing work for him, and then somebody else kind of becomes big, and he just gets to sit back and like
I'm
build
just
this
saying,
little
I don't know.
empire for that. I just see that happening
That's
because
what he says.
he's just he started trying to want to report the news, but then he started adding other people to it, and then these other people got names, and then some
Well,
people left, and then some people kind of attacked him because they
I don't
wanted to
hate
create
Tim Pool,
drama and
but he needs to at
stuff.
least accept that he's definitely a right wing conspiracy guy. I'm not saying that the conspiracies are wrong. I'm just saying you can't act like you're some neutral middle ground when like you really do only report the right side.
Well, I've seen
Yeah.
more, and he is a real middle fence guy.
You
It
think he's seen these middle fence?
if when you watch, like, I watched him for about a year, and he sits that fence real hard. Like he
It's because he
wants to
always just
support
says,
this
"I
side
don't
and
know."
he wants to support this side. But when you just hear certain things from other
Yeah,
people, it
but he
does
wants
make
to
him look
support.
like
He
he's very.
wants to support both sides, but he only reports on right-wing issues. He just tries to play a mediator for right-wing issues. I'm not like, look, I'm just saying he never really reported left-wing complaints.
I've seen left wing people on his channel, and there's times that he's been supportive of some of their stuff, and then he argues with them. The thing is, he's got his own mind, and you know,
Yeah,
he's honestly,
and he tries to play it off like he's not. That's
I think you'd have to watch more of it, because I've watched it for a long time, and he's the one person that does seem to just swing around.
Shows up on my feed all the time. Like, how can I think that YouTube really wants to compress conservatives when people like Tim Pool show? Bill Maher doesn't show up on my feed all the time, and he's supposed to be trying to be a little more middle. Pierce Morgan never shows up on my feed. Andrew Tate doesn't show up on my feed, but that's because I obsessively try to block him.
Everybody that I've watched, I
don't hate Andrew Tate. I just hate all the people that follow him.
I've watched them to see who or what side they're going to be on, and for pretty much most of them, almost all of them, have been pretty consistent with either their left or their right. Tim Pool is the one guy that bounces around so much that sometimes it's annoying to watch him.
Piers Morgan does too sometimes. Piers Morgan makes his points, like the whole Israel thing. He's super on the pro-Israel.
I haven't seen him, but I haven't really, I've been subscribed to Tim for a long time. I haven't watched his stuff in a while because I've just been kind of tired of watching news. It's almost been a year. I've just been fixing my house, getting my stuff together, trying to work on my own thing. I've just
work on your own thing.
I just wanted to avoid
That's the real
all this
life.
other stuff and just be like, you know what? I can't mentally handle listening to all the gripes of the world right now. I got to do my own stuff. I got my own stuff I have to work on. But
next year's going to be re-election, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
well, it's just going to be re-election based upon what's actually happened. We're going to hear gripes about how bad Trump is and what he's done that was naughty.
Trump and Biden are so old. Both of them are so old.
But the thing is,
what are we doing? Like,
all you hear.
You're telling me out of these two people that we don't have some guy who's like 35 who's like, yeah, I got my life way together better than both these people.
It's because I have to say it.
Nobody's a better speaker than.
It's the millennial generation. They have a fascination with grandfathers. And that's why we have these candidates. We have an obsession with grandfathers. And these two grandpas are like so cool in their own way. You know, I'm not sure if that's totally true, but you know, at least that's what the media thinks, or that's what the younger. I honestly think it's just the media.
Called the little girl sexy the other day.
But
that's
yeah,
balls, man.
And he's been pretty creepy to the point that you know, I honestly don't think he's a good person. Actually,
she's too young. She's too young. It's one thing. Look,
well,
I'm not trying to be a pervert.
When I see videos of him sniffing,
if you could look at a 17-year-old girl and be like, "Oh, damn, that 17-year-old girl's sexy." Wait till she turns 18. It's another thing to look at like a 12-year-old girl, like, "You're one sexy little girl." It's like, what?
Yeah,
dude, she's a cute little girl, not a sexy little girl. Calm down, man.
Yeah,
sexy only implies
when you see all the videos.
Sexual feelings.
When you see all the videos of
so weird.
JB doing what he did with sniffing younger people, and you watch them, you'll have a different mind frame about him, and you'd be like, actually, Trump's a pretty good guy, comparatively. to what we see with this, you know, shit show.
Trump went from so like winning everything in life to like shit is like going downhill all the damn time. Even though everything's like it's fake. And it's like, yeah, I can clearly see it's fake.
You see the reality
you don't have
of
anybody in your corner, so it doesn't matter if it's fake or not. If you don't have anybody to vote for you, it doesn't really matter.
Honestly,
I mean, you see the shit about Nancy Pelosi's daughter.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, what I think is going to happen. What I think is going to happen is I think Trump's going to get it. Is going to get it again. Because I just think it'll probably happen because they all counted him out the first time. They just thought he was going to be out. They had no faith in him. They thought he was a big clown. And the fact is, he does clown a lot. He does, make a lot of stuff. He makes a lot of statements, and he makes, and he just, he's bombastic with his own self.
Trump's not going into this re-election like, guys, the ones who didn't vote for me, please understand, I really am there for you. He's going into it like, I'm back. They can't get me. You guys, they can't get me.
I know. He comes off as just an entertainer.
Dude, you're not. Yeah, you're coming off so much as an entertainer. You're not gonna get more votes from the people. Like, you don't make me want to vote for you. I might say you're the better choice, but again, it's like, now what am I supposed to pick Trump because definitely not Biden? That's no fucking different than Biden because definitely not Trump. It's stupid. It's
that was
a stupid way to do American
that is
politics.
So hip. It's a weird hypnotic thing because that's what Hillary ran on. She's like, well, at least I'm not Trump. But what the hell are you? What are you? Like, just to say I'm not this other guy?
But that's why I said they're all bought and paid for.
That's not an argument. That's not an argument, and that's not good enough. That's not good enough.
Nobody wants Ron DeSantis anymore because Ron DeSantis is too fucking flaky.
I know.
Nobody wants.
Ron DeSantis,
I said that from the start. I said I don't trust Ron
DeSantis is basically Ron DeSantis isn't.
We already told you. Ratcliffe for president.
He's not Romney. What is it? Matt Romney or Mitch Romney or what was his name? Remember
from
Romney?
Texas.
When Romney was
Radcliffe. Mitt Romney. Yeah. What about
Mitt Romney? DeSantis isn't Mitt Romney, but he's close.
Rand Paul for president.
But he's close. Rand
Paul. But it'd be a dangerous play. But Rand Paul wouldn't do anything because he's not crazy. He would just be like, let's just think that, and nothing would happen for 4 years. But at least we'd have a stalemate because Rand Paul would at least not do anything crazy for 4 years.
Honestly, I'd be all over that.
Figure things out a little bit.
I think I'd be over that.
No, but Radcliffe for president. I swear he won't run.
I'd have to look at
Obviously, he won't run. Dude, the guy is a saint. He really is a strong-minded saint, and nobody even knows who he is. They won't give the professionals airtime. Why do you think the other guys?
I hate to say it, but it's like the quote. It's like the quote from The Last Man Standing. I always prefer sinners over saints. Like, I don't like if they're a saint. There's something they did, and it's going to come out, and it's not going to be good. There are no clean politicians out there, and everybody thinks they've got this. The left thinks they have their God King with Biden, and some people on the right think that Trump's the chosen one or something like that. And they couldn't both be further from the truth. They're not.
I hate when I see people say "Hail Trump."
Trump. They're not. I hate to burst a bubble. You could pray for somebody, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're God picked. Just because you found some numbers and those numbers correlated, you can do that with anything. With anything, you could look through all these kinds of numbers, and it doesn't. The only thing that means something is actions. That's it. What are their actions? What are they doing? What did they do?
Ted Cruz. That was his name from
the thing is, the one thing I did like about Trump is he went over to Korea and got North Korea and South Korea to shake hands and to talk to each other. He was the only one that actually seemed to want to help some of these destabilized countries to make peace. I've never seen that before.
If Trump
would make peace in
Israel, I'd be scared.
Dude, I mean,
I'd be like, dude, that doesn't seem right.
If Trump went and had everybody
Israel,
and had everybody make peace and break bread with each other, that would be the most
they found
Jesus.
So much oil in Gaza. So much oil in Gaza Strip.
Just listen to me. That would be the most Jesus-like thing ever. And for some people, they would lose their minds thinking that this guy did what Jesus would do. That Jesus couldn't do back in the day with helping everybody come together and make peace. That is amazing. You have to admit, that's amazing.
Only one way. You have to pay royalty.
I'm just
Pay
saying.
royalty
I'm just
to
saying
all
that
the
is.
Palestinians on the Gaza Strip. You're,
But you look at.
Israel can make profit, but Palestinians have to get royalty to it. They live there, and they get relocated to all
See,
neighboring countries.
that's the
All their
here's
neighboring countries can take them in. It's fine.
here's the thing.
Israel
Here's
gets
the
back
thing that we've
Israel,
had. Here's the thing
and
that we've had for.
there becomes an allowance of peace where Palestinians can come to the Holy Land just the same amongst Israelis. That's the only real Israelis. Israelis. Is there a difference? Israelis. There has to be a level of peace where they can both go to the same damn Holy Land.
But man, here's the thing.
Get over yourselves, you fucking clowns.
Here's the thing that most presidents can't do is most presidents can't make peace with other countries because we live in the United States,
We shouldn't though. We should make
which
peace with our own
means
country.
that we're united for
It's all Truman's
ourselves.
fault.
But the thing is, throughout all the years, we've always been at war. So we're so used to going to war. Our ends meet to make peace is through war. That's what we're used to. We're not
Truman
used to.
and
We're not used to
Eisenhower,
going
man.
out there and
I blame
trying to
them.
actually
They really
talk
had
it
this.
over.
They really had this.
We've been
Like
so used to the wars.
asphyxiated feeling that they were the rulers of all the nation, like all like they were the peacekeepers for everyone because they had the ability. They should use it, I'm telling you, Truman and Eisenhower. And I feel like maybe during World War II that was a good methodology, although I'm still not positive. Hitler really seemed there was more about it with Hitler. I don't know if I believe it all, but the banks and all that. I mean, Hitler really hated the Jews for a reason. I don't think Hitler hated all the Jews, but he sure seemed to hate a lot.
He didn't like the conjoined banking system, is what he was not.
Yeah, it was all banking. Is all this idea of banking and yeah, people, yeah, one currency. I guess I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what their plan was. But yeah, invading Poland. I mean, that was definitely he wanted that land because that was an old something to do with like it was personal to him that he wanted certain land in Poland, that bridge or something like that. And he should have never went for that. It wasn't his right to Austria to reclaim his Germanic place.
Honestly,
It wasn't his right to reclaim it, and he went outside of that. And then France sold their country out. King Edward or whatever his name is, the Duke of Edward, or whatever, sold his country out, and that's what they gave. They lost all of France almost immediately because their entire line to Germany got fucked. They got screwed.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with that dude. Let me interject here for a second. What happened long ago with that was that there was a lot of different wars, and it was based upon who should own this particular territory because it was de jure. It was like the kind of territory that was supposed to be for that kingdom. And and as people broke apart and became different things, some people wanted this to be part of the Franks, or France. Some people wanted it to be a part of Germany or the Holy Roman Empire.
Not so much though.
And so they all had different reasons to sign up a contract and say, oh, well, I'm going to reinstate this kingdom from long ago because I'm a part of this heritage and this should be my land. And so all these wars have been going on for a long time. They kept going all the way up until World War II, and people don't realize that.
But you understand,
once you go back into the 1700s, the 1500s, the 1200s, you'll see how many wars there were and how many people thought they had the right to that land. And so that's just been a continuation of, well, my ancestry dictates that this is my land and I should go to war for this, and this should be my territory. So when he's saying that it's supposed to be his territory based upon his people, that's his dictation to say, he's sort of going for a pseudo holy war, or a war based upon his heritage, and
But
he got
what
people to
gave
go along with it.
all right,
So
but
I'm
what gave Woodrow Wilson from the United
I'm not
States the
saying
right
he's I'm not saying he's right, but
to break
they
up
all
Germania in the
thought they.
first place?
I'm just saying they all thought that they had the right
You
because they.
know, you know, after World War One, Woodrow Wilson broke up Germany into all those different countries, Austria and all that. That's why Hitler was from Austria, but yet he put it in the claim of Germany in the long run. He wasn't even from Germany.
Because the thing is, he wanted to unite his peoples,
Because
and
they were his people. That was Germany. Why should Germany have
but when
been
you
separated?
lose, but the thing is, when you
But
usually,
they didn't lose.
but
They
usually,
didn't lose even in World War One.
let,
Woodrow Wilson chose to dictate that, and that was wrong. Woodrow Wilson's the sole cause of what made World War Two in the first place.
here, let me finish my train of thought here. When you go to war, you have a declaration of war. You have something that you send to the other country, and it basically says, this is what's going to happen, and once we win, we're going to take this. The other country will or might send a proposal back saying, if you lose, which you're going to lose, we're going to take this from you. So it's sort of a contract in a way that they do with each other, and this just happens in wars. I mean, you can even play a game like Crusader Kings and see what happens there. If you lose more than you thought you'd lose. And so when they lost in World War One, they lost a load of money. Like their government was nearly bankrupt, if not bankrupt, and they had to find a way to come back to get it back. And so Hitler thought, oh, we go to another war, we'll get our money back, and I'll unite my people and stuff like that. So,
But I still don't understand why he chose to go into. I only think he chose to go into France because
he needed to go to this.
Edward sold them out. Edward sold out
France.
Edward sold out France. Duke of Edward sold out France, and it was like an easy opportunity.
But why do you think that they were looting all these rich paintings and all this artwork and all this stuff? It's so that they'd have collateral
Spain
to pay for the war effort and to
enrich
their
in
nation.
the old pictures. They show in the old pictures that he conquered Spain. And I think who was it? I don't know if it was like Ferdinand or something. I'm probably not, but it was like I remember like the king of Spain at the time was like pretty weak, and he kind of like just gave up to Germany. But it's like he didn't claim Portugal, and he barely really claimed Spain. It's not like he had tons of people in Spain killing, because there's tons of Catholics in Spain.
What I'm trying to say is the thing is what ends up happening is it from the past long ago in the year 400s to 900s or something like that. It was based on kingship, and it was based upon what the people wanted their war chief to do. Now it's based upon the government acquiring items to pay for their system. So when they go to war, they're just acquiring items that are rich in resources, like what we saw with Ukraine and Russia. They're acquiring items to pay for something that they have a lack in. A lot of people will say, well, it's based on this. They'll give you that reason and it's based on this, but it's really the government or the people higher up are going to basically steal from Peter to pay Paul's themselves. And that's what it ends up being a lot of the time. Because when Germany was lacking in money because they lost, they thought to pay that off is go and start another one and actually win this time to get it paid off. And then once that didn't happen, they had what Wilson had to do was fracture the country so that they couldn't come together. So with Hitler's idea of bringing them together, he just smacked him on the back of the head and said, "No, we're fracturing your country so you can't come back together."
So who blew up the Keystone Pipeline?
Biden said he did that. I'm sorry to say, but Biden said, we're going to do something. And him being old enough to have dementia or close to dementia or whatever mind problem he has.
I heard that they said Putin did it. It makes no sense that Putin would blow up that big
the United States military with Biden's actions, we went over and did that. Or
I'm telling you.
specialists or operatives that were paid by
I
the
I
United
re-
States
I really
and
think
possibly by
because
other countries
Putin
too.
didn't Putin didn't take any deals.
What I'm
I
saying
really
is
think that
the
that's the whole
guys
reason this Israeli war got prompted, because
the guy that we
they've
have
known there's oil in Gaza for years. They've
but
known it.
but dude, the guy that
But
we
all
have in
those
office is
but all those
stupid enough to say
Palestinian
stuff like
people,
that.
all those Palestinian people live there, and you can't just take over the Palestinian people and take all that oil. There's enough oil on that Gaza Strip. But
Yeah.
why are we so focused on oil when I thought we were all about electric vehicles?
Dude,
It's funny how that
it's
works, right?
funny. It's funny and it's simple, but everything comes down to money. If you're lacking in
Everything comes down to
funds,
money.
if you're
It's like
lacking in funds,
everything.
you go to war. If you have a lot of funds and you want more, you go to war.
You
You
go to
make up an excuse. You say they killed somebody. You make a patsy, like with JFK and the Oswald guy that didn't actually kill JFK. He was just
you gotta give the Palestinians royalty. They live there. It's their land now. You can't keep making this concept that, oh, land belonged to the people before the time of the people. Whatever is the furthest we have back in history, that's who
But
owned the
that's why
land.
we have these
You
wars.
can't
It's
keep
because the
doing this
inheritance
anymore.
of
You
the
can't.
person that's living there, it's now theirs, and then they can pass it off to their
I
children.
mean,
And
imagine the kid who was born in World War One in Malaysia. That's like, I'm Chinese or I'm Japanese. I'm Japanese because they were born during a time when Japan conquered all the area and all that. Like,
Mhm.
imagine it's like, oh, I thought I was Japanese. I don't know what I am. It's like,
Mhm.
I mean, look, I joke with Dominicans, and I'm Dominican. I'll speak in Spanish, but I'll say, I'm Dominican, and they're always like, you're not Dominican. But my wife, who is Dominican, grew up with a Chinese person who always lived in Dominican Republic because their parents are Chinese. She always called herself Dominican, and she's Chinese, but she always said, I'm Dominican. And nobody ever questioned it. They always said,
Yeah.
yeah, she's Dominican. But all of a sudden
Mhm.
now, because the white guy is like, it's like we've come to this, you know, you've come to this point where it's like you don't know what to. You must be American if you're like if you're white, you're American. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, when I see a European, I know when they're European. You know if they're
Yeah.
European. They can speak English all they want. You can tell when a
Oh,
European's a
it's
European.
yeah, it's pretty obvious with that.
I mean, an
You
African
know,
American versus an African. Oh my gosh,
I can
there's a
tell
huge
every
there's
time,
a huge difference.
every single
I've
time
I've hung out with enough
they
enough African Americans from Baltimore to Philly to where I live, to everywhere. And then I got my African friends, people, Hadi. I, there's a huge difference.
I
A
know.
huge difference. There's different and a difference not just in culture, in speaking, but in their culture and the way they
Yeah.
are.
Mhm.
You can almost always tell where somebody comes from. But culture's merging anymore. In
Yeah.
another couple hundred years, you won't be able to do that. Someone who's from some country, oh, I'm from Indonesia. What does that mean anymore? Because there's tons of Americans who live in Indonesia, and there's Russians who've moved to Indonesia, and all these
Mhm.
different people who are from Hawaii. Look what's happening to Hawaii. It's slowly becoming the rich people's island. And I think it's because they couldn't decide between Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, and
Mhm.
oh, let's just go with Hawaii. Let's just burn Hawaii down and relocate the rich people there. You know, it's sad. Hawaii is a beautiful island, and they're going to be kicking out people who've lived there their entire lives. But what makes you Hawaiian? What makes you native because you were born there? Am I native to Pennsylvania? Am I
Mhm.
Pennsylvanian? Am I native there? What does that mean? I
Yeah,
was
you are if you live there most of your life.
ancestry from Germany and Ireland and England, but that doesn't mean anything. I don't have any place in Germany and Ireland and England anymore. I only
Well,
have
after
a
so
home
many,
in
yeah, but the
Pennsylvania.
thing is, like, it would come down to like
Cult-
if my
Culture gets
castle
created.
heritage, lost every male line, and they're like, "We're looking to you, Frank, to come over and lead us," you know, I'd be like, "Okay." or maybe I might say, I don't know. But they would just they'd kind of expect it, you know? And then they would try to, put you into the lead to do something about it. But what are you going to do in this day and age? You know? Are you going to go to war over something? I mean, I understand, like, but I guess it's what happens over in the Middle East there, with the way those people live. You know,
Well,
they lose
there's so
most of
much
their.
money. There's so much money in oil. So much.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just it's always money. It comes down to money. They lost their money. They have a new leader, and heritage-wise, they want to go to war, take something over, and
I'm
claim it
not.
as
I'll,
theirs.
I'll be honest though. I really like. I know this is gonna come out wrong, and it's probably not something I should put on like the podcast. But I really feel bad for all this situation with Russia. The whole thing was really unfair. Russia tried to join NATO a long time ago, and they refused Russia to join. And I get it. Putin is a communist. He's not exactly running fair elections, but at the same time, I don't see anything wrong with a leader selecting another leader.
Hmm.
I know that that might be dangerous if your leader is corrupt and he'll select another, but in the end, you realize you're going to die. And if you're a leader and you know you're going to die, you know that all you can do is really give the best to your people. That's all that's left. You know, what would
I
you
would do
rather
it more
have?
like I would do it more like the Greek Senate
Let me
from long
but
ago.
let me finish this. What would you rather have? Everybody destroy your statues and remember you as the worst leader in history? The only way you're going to live forever is if you're a good person who led people to victory. People remember Alexander the Great because he fucking conquered everything. People remember Genghis Khan because he conquered everything. People remember the Roman Empire, because they overtook so much.
Yeah, but it doesn't
And
make them great, though. It makes them great in a sense
they
that they.
called people Alexander the Great.
No, I'm just saying it doesn't make them like good people. It just means they conquered more.
I'm
You
not
know?
saying that they were all good. And I know what you're saying because you have people like Biden like that. Look, Biden's not a ringleader. In fact, I'm not even sure why he took the position. He should have known that with the amount of corruption he had, that this was never going to end good for him, especially if he's such a black sheep son and such a pedophilia like mannerisms. I'm not sure
It's
why Biden
it's pretty
ever took the
nasty that
presidency.
it's to me it's nasty that he's even in there. It's just
But who
it's
but
unbelievable that
who really is pulling the
it just makes
strings?
me think like I don't know if even voting is going to do anything because for somebody like that to get in, they complain about Trump, but the fact is you look at Biden, it's like Trump is like an angel compared to what you see Biden do and how he acts and his mannerisms. Oh, Trump is he said a few things. Guys say stupid shit all the time. There's plenty of stupid things, and women do too. But like the stuff you see Biden physically do and get accused
But,
of and stuff, it's
but
like
look what
that is
but
just
look what
way beyond the
listen,
scope of what
I heard a
you want to see
I heard
anybody
a
do.
rumor once. I heard a rumor once that Trump wanted to initiate this. I don't I guess it's not a bill. I'm not sure. But he wanted to basically fire a lot of government employees, government payrolled employees. And there was some
And that's the
counter
and that's the
thing.
thing. We didn't get and the thing is you're going to lean towards communism if you want more government. Or wait, what is it? Something else? But the thing is with more government it just bleeds the system. So when people are like, we need more government, you don't want more government because the government doesn't make any money. They take the money. They write rules and regulations to take the money from you. The government never makes money. They take money. So if you're cutting down a bloated government system, that's fine. They can go to the private sector and actually earn the money themselves without having to take it through taxing. Because that's our system of government, system of how we were built was to have a small government, very, very little. And they were supposed to be public servants. This is not how we're living right now. We are not living with the ideals that were set upon us from the beginning. And I think it's bad, really bad.
Problem,
and honestly, if he cuts down the government with the employees, yeah, it sucks. But they can go to the private sector, and then we can have a better run country.
I'm not disputing what you're saying. I mean, I've already said before that the main we're getting all political. The main problem is that there's so many people in the world, and you need smaller units to govern smaller amounts of people. Basically, no more than 100 should be ruled by one. And that's the truth.
For most of these things, like, and I hate to say it, but when it comes to things like abortion and things like that, that should be run by private sector things. You know, I shouldn't be paying taxes to vote one way or another. I'm not for it, but I shouldn't be paying taxes so that if the guy gets in that is for it and changes everything
I've already said
the way that I don't want it, then I'm still paying for it, even though I don't want to. I'm just saying, for things like that, things like religion, things like this, those certain things should not be run due to the government at all. And they put it in such a way that it's like, no, a lot of this stuff should be private.
Man, you're really intense about this.
Just let me finish my train of thought. You're always just you're jumping in.
I get one sentence and you get like 15.
No, dude, I've been talking and then you keep talking over me. I'm saying there's a lot of private sector stuff that should be incorporated that could run things better than, oh, let's just give it to the government. That's the lazy mind mentality people have. Well, I don't know what to do. Let the government handle it. Make a private entity to handle that stuff. And then if you want the government to regulate it somewhat, okay, but let it run itself as its own entity outside of me paying for you to do the thing that I don't want to have happen. That's all I have to say with that.
I'm trying to tell you. All right, let me interject and give me 5 minutes here because I gave you 5. You're right and you're wrong because that's seconds. You're right and you're wrong. But all right, let me ask you this because I'm looking for one specific word. What do you want the private entity to do over the people in place of the government?
To have, like,
there's one word. No, there's one word. I don't want to hear a sentence. One word. The word is govern. You
efficiency.
Want private. No, govern. The word is govern. You want the private entity to govern over the people in place of the government.
No. It's an option. I guess an option would be the word I'd say. An option that would be better because then I'm not having to deal with trying to vote one way or another.
Word. I asked for 5 minutes.
I did. I said option.
You gave me 30 seconds to ask one question.
You asked me a question. As soon as you ask a question, then it's my turn.
One word, and I answered it for you because it was already going to be answered.
I said option.
The word is govern. You want a private entity to govern decisions. Your option comes into which private entity do you choose to live in? Private entity over here has a bunch of Karens as governing, and their fucking rules are crazy. You can't be out past 10. You better pick up after your dog walking. Versus over here, private entity allows you to govern where you can do heroin on the streets. That's up to you.
I'm not talking about that.
then why wouldn't you want a central government?
No, you don't get it. There's a place where they have the option to do it, but they have to pay to do it there.
Who's they? Who's they?
The people that want it. Let's say it's abortion.
What?
They want an abortion clinic. They go to the abortion clinic to do what they want to do there. I don't pay the taxes for that. That is a private corporation, and those people that want to support it could volunteer to pay or donate to that to help out the people that they want to help with that. But I don't have to. And so however much money it gets or however well it does is based upon its own entity and what they want to do for themselves. Outside of my control.
They ask for GoFundMes?
They could. They could ask for donations, or they could just get paid every time somebody goes to them. And then I don't pay the taxes for that. Then it's then
can
it's
I get my 5 minutes back?
Yeah, go ahead. But you were trying to say that I wanted that to govern. I don't want that. I said option, and you decided to jump onto the whole, no, it's governed.
The option is that
no.
a specific area, you want a specific area to govern that principle. You want an idea to govern the idea that you don't pay taxes towards that. But what if somebody doesn't want that? What if a group of 1,000 people...
It's not the same thing.
No, but you're missing my overall point. This is why I like the libertarian aspect of it. That I believe that certain people want certain things and they should have that right. That they can create their own community to be able to do that within the United States. That if they want to be able to make people pay taxes for abortion, that they have that a right. However, one city over, they don't agree with that, and they can choose to not do that. And you can choose to move there if you want. However, if you're not a citizen in that area, well, yeah, you can still get your abortion here. Let's say you're in a city that doesn't support abortions. We don't support abortions. Hell, we don't even support alcohol. There's none of that. It's a pure... But you go to the next city where they do support alcohol, but you don't have a license because you live in the city that doesn't. Well, your alcohol is just going to be taxed a little more. Like, let's say in the 3,000 percentile. So if you really want your alcohol so bad in the city over, when your city that you live in doesn't have alcohol, hey, you can move. You can move to another place that supports murder if you want. You want to go murder people over there? Go ahead. You know, I'm all about that life. I like the idea of no police, private security. I also like the idea of paying for taxes for police. Either one's good to me. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is good police officers or good security officers, good, people that want to follow the law, people that will risk getting themselves hurt, or if that's what is what they're getting paid for, and that's what my money's going towards, and mine and other people. I hope they get paid well too. I hope if they get hurt or die, that things are taken care of. I would hope that my taxes equate to a good amount that is provided. But you understand what I'm saying?
No, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't. I have no idea. Dude, I was talking about if you're saying that I would support... I don't know how this went down this road, but if there's an individual identity of something...
But you're thinking... I'm not trying to be mean, but you're thinking too simple. Oh, private versus government. The government doesn't mean anything. If the government's not governing you, then someone else is. Doesn't matter if it's a private company governing you or not.
No, it's the private
Somebody's
company. The private company is like a little kingdom. It can do what it wants.
And the little kingdom governs you. You choose to let the little kingdom govern you over somebody else. No matter what, somebody still has to create a judge and a jury.
For,
Somebody breaks
for
into your
what?
house. If somebody breaks into your house, it's not going to matter if the government you like or not, or the private company you like or not. Nobody's going to just let you off the hook. Oh, because what? You pay more money? That's no different than the government we live in now. Nothing. I don't know what you mean.
I'm trying to
Because
understand how you're getting to this, because it'd be something like, if it was a, you're just saying a generalized idea. I'm saying if it
the
was,
problem with our government is no simpler than one person rules over 100,000 people, and they can't handle 100,000 people's problems.
I
They can put
know.
a few secretaries on it and
Yeah.
try to divide it down, but that's stupid because those people weren't elected. They're dumb and they don't know how to get things done professionally. And they can give them more money and funding to try to solve it, but it's never going to get solved right. You can get some, oh, here's a complaint box, but it's just going to get filled with stupid stuff because the problem is, as I've already said, education. Dumb people are trying to help dumb people. And that's the main problem. One person can only govern about 100 people.
So you're saying everything should just
You
be
need
run by cities?
everything should be run by city blocks practically. Once you hit 100 plus people, one person needs to be able to report to another 100 people who reports to another 100 people. You know, hey, out of 100 people, who's the best person to be elected here? Oh, Ted. I agree. Ted is definitely our most responsible guy in our 100 people. Ted goes and meets up with another 100 Teds, and they're all other city blocks. And then those Teds put their heads together and say, you know, hey, you know what's going on in my city? This is happening. Well, my city, this isn't happening. What do you do differently? And then those Teds, who's the best out of all of our Teds? Jake. Jake's the best. So
Jake's the better Ted.
Jake meets up with all the other Jake meets up with all the other Jakes, people at the next level. That it's like he's the best. We've all elected him. We don't really need for 40 or 80 million people to elect one guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Electoral College. It's why the whole reason of it exists. We don't need 80 million people to choose. 80 million stupid people choosing between two different people is dumb. The dumb concept. It's a dumb, stupid concept.
Maybe that's why we've seen such splitting and a fracturing now, because there's just too many people to govern from one guy, you know, or two guys, honestly. And I mean, it would make sense for like battles or wars if we had to go to war, like we become the United States again, united. But from just a governing perspective, we should just literally be run by states at this point, which we say.
That's what I'm trying to say.
We say
but
we do.
Not just by states.
We say
states
we
is way
do,
too
and
big,
we think
because
we
what
do, but
happens
we're
in
not.
states?
We're not.
What always happens in states? The states help the cities, and the local rural areas get fudged. So that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be run by states. It needs to be run by small cities.
I know, but we're
as
not
soon as
even
you
at
get
that.
too many people.
I get it, man. I understand and I get it. But I'm saying,
But here's what I'm
from this
saying.
point, we can't take that high of a jump. The first leap we have to make is
We
pulling it
shouldn't
back
pay
to states.
federal taxes.
There
We as
shouldn't be
individuals
anything
should pay
federal. There shouldn't be anything
No,
federal at all.
we should all we should pay is taxes to our TEDs. TED decides the rate of taxes. The one TED in our city block says, I need this much money because my people are requesting this much money, and we generate this. And you know, the other TEDs put their heads together. Some places generate more because they have better resources, and you get that, and that's why TEDs are smart.
Yeah, and
It's not just people saying we all need
where
to
you're
equal.
coming from with some of this too, because if you got an area that is mostly on the lake or on a waterfront, and they've got a lot of piers and a lot of boats, the boat regulations or how you fish would be completely different from an area that just has a small river with a little bit of fish. And so fishing regulations or docking regulations or boat regulations should be run differently. Instead of the whole state, oh, we can only have this many boats. We got a whole area where these boats could be run out and get more fish, but because of most of its land, we can't do that.
I believe in the idea.
So
But I
yeah,
believe in the idea.
I'm agreeing with
Listen,
you on that. I think
but I
that,
believe in the
you know,
idea that a certain Ted who was elected by the 100 people in that area says we don't want boats at all in our area.
hmm
They have the right to say, you know what? No boats are allowed in that area. They put up their fence. You can't put their boat. That's their area. You can't just drive into their area because you have the right. They've claimed it. It needs to go smaller. I know that it seems backwards in the idea, but it's not. It
no,
needs to
no,
go.
it's not backwards because you're thinking more detailed and you're thinking more micro than macro. And we've gone,
Look,
and
it
it
makes
makes sense
the.
because we've gone so macro with things to the point that the reason these presidential candidates look insane is because it kind of is insane, you know?
You can't tailor to cities and rural areas at the same time.
Yeah.
So unless you're going to play a teeter-totter effect where who needs it more at the time of will vote for it.
hmm Yeah, I agree. Do you think that's how it is in space? Do you think we're kind of like that when it comes to space and expanding? We're very small and then we get bigger and then we have to kind of fracture because we're too much the same and we split apart. Do you think
just
that the
think
way
space
we
is
live
endless.
life is the same way it is?
I think the idea that, I mean, there's only 7 billion people on the planet. And the fact of the matter is, there's probably only ever been like 20 billion people to ever exist.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that much crazier. It's like 20 billion people or something like that. And even if you multiply it to 100 billion people, one galaxy would be able to harbor almost everybody to have their own planet. And there's like trillions of galaxies. It's like
Hmm.
I'm just trying to say it's like we're at this point where I don't know. I don't really care anymore about what this world has to offer. All the
Mm-hmm.
glamour of it all. I kind of just want to go with like, what does God have to offer? And it's not,
You know,
you
that's
know,
the thing I wanted to do when we started talking about this. We got into a heavy government side, and you know that it kind of makes sense because we kind of have to go there because it's like who's going to do the better job, and that's the same way we think about God. You know, God's not here, so who's physically going to do the better job? Because we would dictate God to do that, obviously. Um, but where did he go? Did he just go off and keep creating stuff? And he's like, you guys figure it out. You know, figure out how to make a head, figure out how to run things, figure out how to do this and all that. I'm going to go and keep making planets and keep making life and all this stuff. And it's like, is that what we do? We just,
I was
okay,
I was
so he
watching.
created us. So now we have to figure out how to create ourselves. We have to come up with an idea. We have to specialize. We have to focus. We have to reach out and
I was watching Young Sheldon the other day because it came out on Netflix. And I
yeah.
was watching it with my kid. And this one time that he was saying, I think he said like Pascal or somebody said that you might as well believe in God because you have everything to gain if you do and nothing to lose if you don't. Like if it's not true, you have nothing to lose. And I just thought to myself, like, you probably won't go to heaven with that concept. Like it won't work because you just
Mm-hmm.
it's a selfish desire on why you're even choosing to believe in God. Like, you're choosing to believe in God because you want to go to heaven, not because it's necessarily the right or better choice.
I would say more lazy than selfish, but I
Well,
guess
I think,
that
but
also does. I guess it does apply.
look, I want to go. I want to go to be under God's rule and Jesus' rule any more than the next person. I want that. I believe Jesus is the perfection, and I believe that whatever it is on Earth 2.0 that he wants us to do, if we do it, we're going to see some great things. I'm not sure exactly what it is, whether
The only thing that I'm wondering
you
about
plant.
Earth 2.0 is it like Elon was thinking? Is it Mars turned into Earth, and then we're just living another human experience again? Which is like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't feel like
I
that's the
I
right
trust
path.
God. That's the thing. I trust God. I trust God. I trust that whatever it is that God wants me to do, that it's not going to be, because I'm all about it in the world of eternity. It's going to be eternity. I trust that God's not going to make it boring for me. I
Maybe that's
do.
also why we're here. Is we got bored. It was just it's like, let's do something exciting that we can't
Well, I think,
contemplate, and then
but
we just came here.
I think there'll be years of me having to repay for my sins. I think that there'll be years of me having, before I ever get to be anything close to being able to have any real, I think that I'm going to have to endure my own hell even through heaven. I think that's the truth. That we're going to pay for our sins. It's judgment is not just that God's scolding you and you're like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Like, I think judgment is you're going to pay for what you did. Judgment is you pay for it. And
I feel like you
it's
you do you do everything good or bad for yourself and to yourself,
look,
here or there.
Jesus forgives
You
you,
know,
but it also says somewhere in, I think it's James or Timothy or somewhere, that he only really forgives you once on this stuff. I mean, you can't just keep sinning
well,
and then in
they
heaven be
didn't
like,
say
look,
that
I
specifically,
know,
but there
right?
was a line that kind of does state that. Yeah.
It's it is what it is. We're gonna have a lot, like I'm just saying, there's a reason why you go to heaven before you go to Earth 2.0. I think there's a lot that we don't understand about it all, but the thing is, I put my full faith in God's plan, Jesus' plan. I put my full faith in it.
Mm-hmm.
If the reality is eternity in life, I don't want to do it on my own. I don't want to do that on my own. I want Jesus in my corner. If the, I'm saying if, but it's like the Jesus that I've heard in the story that's come back. That I mean, I believe it. I don't know. I believe it. Fairy tales it may be. I believe it. I don't know why.
I
I
feel like
just
it's all
do.
just a magical experience when you go, anyways. Everything that, and I think that when people think all these magical, you know, when they talk about these magical things or these experiences of these, I don't know if it's, I don't know what to say, but all this imagination that it is, I think that is what heaven is. That's why I think Jesus, when he said to let the children come to me, it wasn't just let the children come to me, it's let their imagination come to me. The imagination, the beauty of what they can create and come up with is kind of what heaven really is about. And I
But
and I
that's what I'm saying.
and Jesus even said, like, if you have the mind of a child, or wait, how did he say that again? You remember that part? But it was something like that. And I think that's what heaven is. It's just your beautiful imagination of something, and that is the
Well,
perfection of it all.
I've said before, I oftentimes wonder how much of who you are personally is sin related. You know, if sin were wiped out of you, would you still recognize yourself?
I think you'd just be the more perfect version, the probably the perfect version of yourself. Maybe
But would you
maybe some of this
recognize
is,
yourself?
yeah, I think so. But I think this, honestly, it would make sense if this human experience here is so that you can see an imperfect version of yourself to appreciate the perfect version of yourself when you go, so that somehow if you didn't do everything right, you could either redo it and somehow it's redone, or I don't know. I don't know what
But the
else there
but the
could be
perfect
to it.
version of
But
yourself can only be found through Jesus. And some people just accept that they want the perfect they like the imperfect version of themselves more. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. When you get to judgment and you see that this was a sin, and you're like, really, that?
hmm
Like, I thought that was like okay with me. It's like it's a sin, and it will be wiped of you. And you're like, but I like that part of me. And it's
maybe
like
this
it's
is really
gone.
just
And
a
that's what I'm
moving
saying. Like you're,
review of yourself.
but that's what I'm trying to say is that we are born in a world of sin. We don't even realize how much of our lives is sin. We're engulfed in it. It's like a parasite throughout us. Everything of who we are is sin. And that's what I'm saying. When you get to judgment and you have judgment, I still think even in judgment that God can turn his back on you, because when you start to look at it and you start to say like, "Oh, I'm gonna not have that of me. Like, oh, I lose that. It's not just like, oh, I'm not gonna play video games anymore. Oh, I'm not gonna, you know, look at other girls improperly, or and stuff like that. Or oh, I'm not gonna have a some kind of drug problem or something like that. It's it's more than that. You're gonna find that it's like you yourself are just so disgusting and vile that every thought you thought of, you wasted. You wasted your life, what life really could have been. And you realize you're like, oh, and that's what I'm saying. It's strong enough of an independence that would create even the devil to say, I'd rather be sinful than, just give my life completely to the Lord.
That's what made me kind of
I don't,
wonder with
I
with
don't think the everyday average person does give their life to the Lord. I think that you're choosing servitude to the Lord over having your own choice in life. And that's what I'm trying to say is
yeah.
I know that I make mistakes. I know that I have desires that are of this world, but I know strongly that I still choose the Lord's plan over mine. I know that I clearly don't have the better plan inside. I know that I clearly don't know what's best for me. And I know that this world is not the best thing that the Lord can create. I think that this is just a world of sin that he's allowed for us to see what sin is so we can make the choice. Do you really want to live in that, or do you want to live in perfection? I choose perfection.
It would make sense that this world would be like a dirty mirror of yourself to see your potential in life. And I think some people, they get to see the darkest side of themselves, and some people can come through it. Um, but it would make sense as far as the book of Job is concerned, because Job, God and the devil were kind of betting on Job, and God was saying, "Well, it doesn't matter what happens to him; like he'll still love me." The devil's like, "I bet you he won't," and maybe it's a test, it's a game, it's a maze, it's all these things. It can be whatever it kind of turns into in your life, but it's I would have to say this life is about tempering your soul. You know, not testing you, but tempering you. Maybe some people, and maybe that's the reason why some people don't actually get anywhere in life, or they might not get anywhere in the afterlife, is because they, like the person with the talent that thought that God was a hard master, so he buried his talent. Maybe it's because they chose to think of reality as a bad thing, so they decided to bury whatever good they could do and not care. Whereas other people decided to realize, oh, hey, I got a couple talents. I'll try to double that. And then the creator was proud of them in the afterlife. So maybe it comes down to the fact that it is whatever you let it be. So if you let it be a cruel master, you're going to have a cruel master, and you'll treat life like a cruel master, and the afterlife will treat you as if you were a poor person, you were a bad person. But if you treat it as, I have some options, I've got some good options to do something good with, you can turn it into something better to the point that you'll be valued. So I'm thinking that's as far as I can go with it. I mean, I can't really see anything else. Like it's like don't judge unless if you judge, you'll be judged. So if you make the decision to judge people wrongly, that can come back to haunt you, you know? Not saying that you can't be judged, but for you to be the judge it's not your call, you know? So
We can't fathom what it's like to not be in the world of sin.
well, we'll get to see it at some point. But that's going to take some time.
I
And
think
it's individual
that's
based
the
on
thing. God has the ability. It's like he might know what sin is, but he's in places that is absent of sin.
maybe that's why
And
it's so hard to
and
reach out to him, because
we can't understand that. We're only in a place that has sin, and we can't understand what it means to be absent of sin.
like I just
We
said at the
can't.
beginning, the snow globe. We're in a snow globe. He's outside the snow globe. We can't see outside too well, but he can always see inside. So he's in a different place than we are, and we can't see that place yet. So all we get is just a bad refraction. Yeah. Well, I don't know what else to say, man. I think we should probably wrap it up here. Move on. Do other things.
Yeah. Cool though. We're at a point where, I mean, was the Nobel Prize last year or something was like
Mm-hmm.
that reality doesn't exist. That's what won reality. Somebody said reality doesn't exist.
What?
I mean, yeah,
They
like
proved
we're just
Schrodinger's cat was dead?
that's exactly what it was. It's all about Schrodinger's cat. That it had something to do with because the things were so far away that it's not even proof that what we're seeing is actual what's there or
I
a
kind of thought
potential of
about that
what's
since
there.
I was a kid, that everything's dead. I, I always thought that. I even have some comical books that all my friends are dead, and so a dinosaur is talking about his friends that are all dead. But it's
What's
funny. I always thought that, like, what if we're all dead? You know, just imagining we're alive.
we're all just part of God's overall creation,
You know?
and that's
Yeah.
what I mean. It was just a thought of what God is thinking.
Hmm.
But
I mean,
he's
we're
given us this free will for us to be able to choose what we want to think about. But like I
yeah.
was telling you before about Bill Gates and that 5-year-old kid at Rocket League, everything is situational. You get put in these positions where, I mean, how often do you hear where it's like, well, my father was a police officer and I'm a police officer, or my mom was a teacher and I'm a teacher, it happens so much more than you think, that people
Hmm.
tend to follow with what they know, not just traits of jobs, but it doesn't always happen to be that your parents were doing, but some kid who happens to have somebody that where he gets a job as a plumber early in his life, he gets good at it. That's what he'll end up doing later, being a good plumber, making good money and running his own business because he learned a little bit more. Obviously he has motivated, but he had plumbing skill in his life due to something that happened in his life, some way or another. We get put in these. Our life is not 100% our own, is what I'm saying. You can't have the genes of overweight people and suddenly going to be a fast runner. It's not. It's not in the cards for you. You're not going to be
Yeah.
the fastest runner. It
I
doesn't
mean,
matter
it
how much you train.
it makes sense.
You won't be able to be competing against people of third, fourth, fifth generation
But
who are running like oxen.
like what you're saying is makes sense with family having a disposition to, let's say if your family is always giving you sugar, right? And then you get diabetes later on because they always had sugar and are just used to it, you know? Um, the family led you into that position. Yes, they're somewhat to blame, but you're mostly to blame because you decided to keep doing it. I've got my addictions as well, but I'm saying like it's like pool. If you hit the two ball and it hits the corner and it hits the 13 ball and you didn't intend for that to happen, but it still happened because the 13 ball was close enough, it ends up pushing the 13 ball. Sometimes something else, is a vector towards a different outcome that wasn't fully expected. You didn't really want to intend to hit the other ball, but you ended up hitting it anyways.
Unseen repercussions. That's what I call
Exactly.
them.
So, yeah, even though, like even Jesus said, the seeds sown in the areas where the crows are going to eat on the road or in the thorny areas are not going to grow too well. I guess nowadays you
That's
have
what
to
YouTube on
see,
your phone was. Unseen repercussion.
yeah,
Changed everybody. YouTube on your phone changed everything for everybody. If they can get their endorphin kick just by opening up their phone and watching some random video, and
yeah,
then
but it
shorts
depends.
really made it even faster.
It depends on what you're going to watch,
Well, you used to have to
though.
go to the computer to computer was easy and it was cool, but you had to go over to the computer and sit at the computer in order to watch a video. But once it came out on your phone, while you're driving, when you're at work,
Yeah.
wherever you are, you can watch the videos of whatever you want. Snapchat, all that kind of stuff. Talk, the internet, and it really changed everything. You want to communicate with whoever you want to communicate with,
Hmm.
lickety split.
Yeah.
Like all of it changed everything and everybody's mindset on how they think and activate. And we're all new at it.
Yeah, you just got to see. That's just another governance thing too. You just got
We
to
used to get
see
home
who can.
home phone calls. Don't stay on the line too long. I'm expecting a call. If that phone beeps, hang up on your friend. Okay?
Yeah.
Boop. Oh, I gotta go. It's another call. Hold on. You click it. Is that you know
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying things have changed with technology. Created a lot of unseen repercussions. The TV, which is supposed to report the news, the unseen repercussion is also reported nonsense.
Just
And that's
depends
all
on
it
how you're
really
gonna.
is now. And now,
Honestly,
news.
it's gonna be how you shoot your pool, man. How are you gonna shoot the pool? Are you gonna shoot your ball to block their ball now, so that they
But
have
I'm
to hit your ball in?
well, no, nobody cared about seatbelts until car crashes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all I'm saying. You'll see these things where it's buckle up, it's the law, and blah blah blah, and all these different strategies on to make people safer. But like, should our tax money go to that? Should we have to pay for people to be like, what amount of education should you know that obviously putting your seatbelt on, you shouldn't be able to pass your driver's license test if you don't know putting your seatbelt on is safer than not putting your seatbelt on.
Yeah. Well, it's just
So I
there's a
mean,
lot of older people that
what
didn't.
more taxes do we have to pay? But because people keep getting in car accidents and it's well, they weren't wearing their seatbelt. It's like we need to put more tax money into trying to tell people to wear your seatbelt. It's important. No, they already know. They just chose not to.
Yeah.
The only thing you could do is argue that an insurance company will say, I'm not paying out if you were caught not wearing your seatbelt.
Mm-hmm.
But then you argue, well, it's like they were wearing the seatbelt, but it broke. Insurance company's lying. They just don't want to pay us out.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
always wore their seatbelt. Dwayne was a good man.
All right, man. I'm getting tired. I think I'm gonna throw the switch here. So,
All right. Yep.
uh, any last words?
What does that mean?
Any last
You're-
words? I'm gonna throw the switch.
I know what you're thinking. You fire 5 bullets or 6. Tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I don't remember myself. But you got to ask yourself. You feel lucky?
Yeah.
Do you, punk?
Do you feel lucky? All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope we explained the inevitability of it all, because that is the explanation. There is no other explanation other than that. So, just remember, we are Aquarius, and you can be too, but it depends on what you do.
Just hit that subscribe button like a cult.